firing or laying off people, depending on, of course, the scale, but like it's a mini crisis. And so how you actually do it automatically impacts the culture because it's basically this is how we come through a crisis. And how we come through the crisis is then taken as the taken for granted assumptions on what are the right things to do. And so you do need to think about whether or not how you're going through this phase, if those are the lessons that you want people to think, okay, this is how we behave. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes the intentions are good on the leadership team in that they try to hold on for as long as they can before they have to make an awful decision of laying off. They basically wait until they've painted themselves into a corner. If you started this process sooner on the employee side, then you could be doing things like, all right, let's put some effort into getting your resumes like put back up. Let's work the networks. Let's try to actually help you land on your feet. Like basically you're like, I know we've kicked off uncertainty for you. Let's try to resolve some of this uncertainty for you. We do care about you. We know this is a big deal to you. Like to me, the few organizations that I've seen actually do this well, because again, I think the intent is right with the leadership, but they wind up waiting so long that they're just in crisis.
And I think to your point, intent is often not bad. That's why this is so difficult for people who are leading layoffs to do, is because they don't want to do it. The intent is not bad, but the impact is, has really nothing to do with the intent. The impact is really shaped by the planning and preparation that's behind it. And so what we recommend is that people treat this like writing a will or, your normal dentist appointment. You don't go when you're hurting and struggling and suffering and tend to be more reactive. You create this plan because, again, as Kim said, only 30% of companies have a plan for layoffs. And I think a lot of what we see in terms of negative impact comes from good intentions and no plan. So we've used this quote in our speaking engagements. Kim found it. It's from Andy Grove. He was the CEO of Intel. And he said, bad companies are destroyed by crisis. Good companies survive them. Great companies are improved by them.
So yeah, for sure. I totally agree with that.
And so we're trying to help organizations plan for a healthy response to a crisis so that they can actually move forward in the best possible way.
Do you all have like an example of a company? Because I was sitting here trying to think of one myself. Do you have an example of a company that has done this really well and wound up improving? Like I can think of a crisis where a company comes out better, but it has nothing to do with layoffs.
Yeah.
Was Tylenol, right? Like that company was like, sure. Oh my God, people are dying taking our pills. We don't know exactly what has happened here. And like they didn't play any games. They went, we don't know, pull everything.
Yeah.
And I was, I think in 4th grade when that happened. And I still remember, and recent incidents aside, people have always trusted Tylenol. Partly because when they knew that there was potential for harm, like you couldn't fault how they reacted.
Yeah.
And they put the people first. They put the people first versus profits.
Right. So, I mean, like that's a great example of like a company in crisis, like just really actually improving because of how they reacted. But do you have one that is specific to layoffs?
I will say that I think for us, we've seen companies who have done parts of it well. Mm-hmm. But what is, I think, problematic is that the norm is this cut the person off way. There is no norm for doing it well. And so that's what we're trying to shape and create is this is the way you can do it well. And so we're taking pieces that we've been able to collect from research about what companies have done well. We know what creates engagement with employees. We know what creates higher performance with people. So we're using the research that's out there about what creates the outcomes that we're looking for and what creates the outcomes that we aren't. And we're helping organizations plan in that way. But I can't think of a specific one, although I'm sure there are people who have done it well. I have heard recently of quite a few colleagues of mine who have been let go, being given 3 months, or, being able to stay on. And one of the beautiful things about that is it's kind of like breaking up with somebody, but still having to see them for the next 3 months. They're starting to all of a sudden not romanticize the company as they were, and kind of find the things that they can get tired of and the good reasons to go, so that by the time they're exiting, they've given all they can, and also they're ready to move on to the next chapter.
Yeah. I mean, that could be also a brutal phase. We call that de-identification.
Yes.
So, like when you identify with a company, you see all the things and all the ways that you're similar. And that's very binding.
Yes.
When you de-identify, that you are breaking those ties. And so you're this is just so automatic that you basically start to see all the ways in which it is screwed up.
Yes.
Like, I always think about divorce, because I think most people have seen a divorce somewhere in their life where, like, two people that seem to generally get along okay. I mean, they might have had their moments. We might have had some inclination, but, like, as soon as one of them decides it's over, like, they can't control themselves. Like, all they see is how things have jacked up.
Yeah.
And so there's a little bit of a downside to that, and that's part of, like, the healing process that does have to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what we're saying is that, like, it's not an end where you got thrown out. It's just part of your evolution.
Yes.
And so in helping people actually find the next point on their storyline that isn't inside your organization, like, they don't have to actually sever the relationship. Like, in a divorce, like, you want to be done with this person forever. And in many respects with organizations, we don't necessarily actually want to permanently sever the relationship. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've been in an organization and somebody has, like, left and come back and left and come back.
I'm a boomeranger.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, like, also, like, they already have relationships with people that are going to go on. And so the more that you can maintain that relationship aspect, I think the easier it is for the people who remain to not feel like, well, I kind of got to choose between my company and this person I care about.
I equate it to divorce with kids.
Yeah.
The relationship changes, but most people who are divorced and have kids have a continued relationship, and their transactional relationship looks very different day to day. Their relational relationship looks very different, but they're still connected. They're still tethered, and they still interact around these kids or this, topic. And so I think it's that just because something changes doesn't mean it has to be severed. It can evolve. I like that word that you use, Cindy. It can evolve. And I think that's what we're talking about, is evolving the relationship and changing the transaction, but evolving the relationship.
Yeah, we're even seeing on some of these mass layoffs, a new term has been coined, and that is layoff loop. So we're seeing companies who lay off a mass amount of people, then for whatever reason need some people back and will actually rehire. So there's sort of, and I think in some ways in manufacturing, that has kind of been around for a while. We didn't have maybe a name for it, but boomerangers, it's very common.
To some degree, that makes me think they didn't really know what they had.
So that's a reality, right?
Yeah, that is kind of reality. It is, yeah. But it does. Like, I think that goes to, like, maybe a little bit what we were talking about before, like that planning process.
Yeah, we really encourage companies to come up with a very personal offboarding plan. So doing what's right for their company and being intentional in that. So almost flipping that intentionality of, like, yeah, the intentionality is there, but we're redirecting it to think about how you really want this to go down It doesn't have to be 3 months. It could be a really effective 3 days. I saw somebody effectively offboarded in 2 days, very respectfully, and plenty of time to wrap up. So lots of times it depends on the role somebody has. If their role can be wrapped up in a couple of days, then do that. If it takes a couple of months, then do that. But really thinking through kind of what's right for the company and the culture and kind of everybody involved.
Well, I
So
think
there are a lot more choices than I think that people think there are.
Right,
We tend to
there's
think
more
we
of a
have to do it this
dimension.
one way. And it's,
Right.
To Colette's point, and I'm not divorced with children, so you'll have to correct me, but often when there are children involved, don't they sit down with somebody and they create a custody plan, and it's, well, here's where the kids are going to go then. And so even in that situation with parents, divorcing parents and children, there's a plan, right? So they're thinking about, how are we going to make this successful, which is what we know we're encouraging companies to do, is to really ask every step of the way, how can we do this with empathy for everybody?